Chapter 5.1, Rate of Change and Slope. Your objective for this chapter is to find rates of change from tables and to also find slope from a graph. The first vocabulary you need to know is that rate of change, that's your vocabulary, shows the relationship between two changing quantities. If you need the formula for rate of change, what it is rate of change equals change in y, or the dependent variable, over the change in x. So for example 1, they give you a table with time and distance, and they ask you for the rate of change from one row of the table to the next. When you have time and distance, time is always your independent variable, so that's going to be your x, and your distance is going to be your y. So to find your rate of change, this is supposed to have 260 in it. You are going to find the change in y over the change in x. So for the first group, the first two, from here to here, y went up how many? So we went from 260 to 520. So if I subtract, that'll tell me my difference or my change. And then I also went from 1 to 2 minutes. So 520 minus 260 is 260. 2 minus 1 is 1. Now we're going to do the next group from 520 to 780. So we'll do 780 minus 520 over 3 minus 2, which is 260 over 1. And I could do it a third time from 780 to 1040. And 4 minus 3, which is 1. And then that's 260 over 1 again. So the rate of change for this is 260 feet per 1 minute, which also happens to be a unit rate. Guided practice number 1. I want you to answer the question, in example 1, do you get the same rate of change if you use non-consecutive rows on the table? So what that means is, if you'll look back up here, and I did the rate of change between 1040 and 260 and 1040 and just skipped way ahead, would I still get the same answer? Pause the video, try to answer the question on your own, and then resume the video when you're finished. Okay, if I did 1040 and 260, we're going to do 1040 minus 260 over 4 minus 1, which is 780 over 3, and if you reduce that, you get 260 over 1, so the answer here is yes. And the explanation, it says explain. The explanation would be something like, well, the rate of change is constant, so it wouldn't matter which points you used on the graph, it's still going to be the same rate of change no matter which points you use. Slope is another word for rate of change. So another word for the rate of change is slope. And that's when you're talking about the graph itself, the way the line on the graph slopes. When you're given a graph, you find slope by looking at the vertical change over the horizontal change. It's still in fraction form, just like rate of change was. And that's going to be rise over run, which I'm sure you've heard before. How much does it rise over how much does it run? So example 2, you have a graph. What you're going to do, see, this graph does not put any points on the line, so you're going to have to find places where it lies directly on a point. So let's say if you'll look at 1, 1, it is a perfect little crossing there. And then if you look at -2, -1, it also crosses perfectly there. So what I want you to do is always start at the point on the left. Always count up or down, and if you go up, it's positive. If you go down, it's negative. But I have to go up to get to the next point. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, positive 2. So this is rise over run. That's going to be positive 2 over. So I rise 1, 2, and then I run how many? 1, 2, 3. So 2/3. You count your steps, not your stops, when you do this. So for the next one, we are going to have a point on, supposed to be on -3, 2. And the other one is supposed to be on 2, -2. But it looks like I fudged a little bit. Alright, so I always start at the point on the left. I have to go down and then right. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. And right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down 4. Right 5. So that's -4 over 5. Okay, moving on. So there are some formulas for slope because sometimes we are not given the graph. If we are given the graph, that's going to be rise over run. But if we're not given the graph, and you're given 2 points, you're going to use the formula M, which stands for measure of slope, equals the second y minus the first y over the second x minus the first x. There's your formula. So, example 3, what is the slope of the line through these 2 points? Now, it's possible you could just graph it and do rise over run, but you don't always just have graph paper. So the other thing you might want to do is use the slope formula. So it's going to be M equals just exactly what I wrote up top, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then you plug in your coordinates. The first x is going to be x1, the first y is going to be y1, the second x is going to be x2, the second y is going to be y2. So this is going to be -2 minus 0 over 3 minus -1, which happens to be -2 over 4. And then you reduce and you get -1/2. So your answer to this is -1/2. Guided practice number 3, I give you 2 points. I want you to plug them into the formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Plug in your 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2. Find your slope and then resume the video when you're finished. Okay, this is going to be -1 minus 3 over 4 minus 1, which is -4 over 3. Example 4, final example. We're going to find the slope of horizontal and vertical lines. These are special types of lines and they have special types of slopes. If you think of a horizontal line like the floor, how does the floor slope? Hopefully it doesn't slope at all, which means it would have a slope of 0. You could also think, if I just put 2 points on this line, let's say there and there, I don't rise any. So my rise is 0 over my run, which would be 4. Well, 0 divided by anything is 0. So your slope for a horizontal line is always 0. And then your slope for a vertical line, if you just put 2 random points on a vertical line here and let's say here, I rise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I run 0. I can't divide by 0, you'll get an error, so this is going to be undefined. And the slope of all vertical lines is undefined. Guided practice number 4, they want the slope of these 2 points. If your x is the same as it is in example A, that means that your x is the same for all points, which means this is a vertical line. And if your y is the same as it is on point B, or in question B, that's going to be a horizontal line. So I want you to pause the video and tell me the slope of a vertical line for A and a horizontal line for B, and then resume the video when you're finished. Okay, A, you should have gotten undefined because it's a vertical line. All vertical lines have an undefined slope. B is horizontal. You should have gotten 0 because all horizontal lines have a slope of 0. You will have a quiz at the beginning of class tomorrow to show your understanding. If you don't understand it, go back and watch it again. It's not that long of a video. Bring your outline to class so I can give you your participation grade.